Hello, welcome to Savello Ministries. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about suffering, hardship, and the role and faith, and the role that they play in your life. So, without further ado, why do we suffer? To me, at least, there are three main reasons as to why we suffer. The first one is the influence of Satan. When you let yourself fall from grace into the hands of the devil, your life will be consumed by a great misery and suffering, for the love of God and his light has been replaced with the darkness of Satan. Matthew 4:10. Then Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship your God, and him only you shall serve." If you fall under the influence of Satan, if darkness is to consume your life, you will be unable to feel his light. To ensure we do not fall into the suffering of Satan, suffering without meaning, pure evil, we must continue to build our relationship with God and strengthen it every day. Even in trying times, we must let the light of God and the grace of good flow through our lives, and we must not succumb to evil. For example, the story of Job. Even in his suffering, he remained faithful, and for his faith he was rewarded thousandfold. The devil is sneaky, but you must love God and trust in him, for his good shall sweep away all the evil and wickedness. The second reason as to why we suffer, and why a lot of people lose their faith in God, which is something that troubles me deeply, is that we focus on mortal things. I'm not sure if you know this, but there are multiple lines which tell us to focus on the unseen, which would be heaven, what awaits us in the end, God, etc. If we follow the word of the Bible, which is to focus on God, heaven, divinity, and these unseen things, to absolve our mortal worries, then suffering will become bearable. When you focus on God, instead of your worries and suffering, if you live for God, then you shall be an unshakable fortress, for even if everything is taken away from you, you shall have God, and with God you shall be happy, and with faith and grace you shall enter unto the kingdom of heaven. 2 Corinthians 4:18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporarily, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Matthew 4:4. For he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Matthew 5:3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for their spirit is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall receive comfort. Matthew 5:6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be fulfilled. Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on the world cannot be hidden. Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So, those verses are exemplifying how we should focus on divinity, right? How we have to focus on the unseen, as 2 Corinthians 4:18 says. And this will make the suffering which we go through in our life much easier. And again, if you do live for God, right? No matter what happens, because you're living for God, life becomes much easier, even in spite of everything. Because, when you live for other things, when you live for mortal things, when you live for almost superficial things, it really does not matter. They do not matter, but what matters is God. What matters is faith. So if you live for God, with your faith, suffering will become much easier. And as I said, even if everything is taken away from you, you will always have God. You won't always have everything, but you will always have God. Therefore, I think all of us, everybody, every man who lives on this earth, well, man and woman, of course, every man and woman who lives on this earth, of course, should strive to get closer to God and to live for God more, because, well, at the end of the day, sometimes God is all you have. And, you can see this in the story of Job, actually. God really was all he had. God really was all he had. And even if he went through suffering, he was rewarded. But tangent aside, the third reason why we suffer is, it's God's plan for us. Because I remember when I was little, I'd lost my faith in God, but the thing is, I realized all my negative experiences when I was going through them, when I was suffering, what I considered negative experiences are actually positive experiences, for I am who I am today. Without these experiences, I would not be who I am today, and, I don't even want to think about, who I would be without these experiences. I thought it was suffering, but it was simply God's plan for me, and I'm eternally thankful, for the good and the bad, and even within the bad, there is good, for it creates who you are. Even in suffering, you can't lose faith. You need to focus on the love of God and what awaits you in heaven, for matters of this realm shall not matter when we reach his kingdom. Even in suffering, live for God, with his love in your heart. Live with patience and let his plan take place, for you shall look back and be grateful eternally. His light, grace, compassion, and unending love will never leave you. Love him too, and let him into your life, and all shall be made right within the world. This life is simply a gateway to him and to his kingdom, so live it well and live it righteous. Live it faithful in spite of suffering. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this sermon. If you enjoyed that, I think you should maybe go check out some of the other videos on the channel. Goodbye.